Okay, crazy girls. I am in my bathroom alone after my second cardio today to come to you live to talk about what seems to be a hot topic of interest on the page. So, number one, I'm going to give you a huge disclaimer, which even when I write this stuff in our legal language, I'm like, do I really have to say this? But I'm going to. The FasciaBlaster is for external use only, okay? So let's start there. Second of all, I just want to give you a little bit of my background because when I very first started in the business of, really helping people strengthen their core, I completely redefined what we call core. And if any of you have watched my ICE DVDs, I consider the inner core the transverse abdominis, which is the muscle that is responsible for coughing and holding our tummies nice and flat. There's a lot of videos on my YouTube about it if you just type in inner core. The other two muscles are the multifidus, which runs little scaffolding up inside of our spinal column. They are responsible for flexion, extension, and rotation, and they're super important. But the third thing that I consider the inner core is the pelvic floor. And there's a lot of misconception about the pelvic floor because I think a lot of people think that it doesn't include the vagina, which it does. So when we think of a vaginal wall or even really like our vulva, I think it's funny, I went and saw vagina monologues and the whole time I was just disturbed because it's not the vagina, it's actually the vulva. But anyway, I'm doing the real vagina monologues. So first and foremost, I want to tell you that we've seen some silly videos and had some fun. I definitely have had some like almost spit your drink out laughter over some of the comments and the videos and everything else. But for just a second, we'll be serious. Like I said, you guys made me pour a drink, so I'm gonna be having my vodka while I talk about all this stuff. But first and foremost, there are so many women who have vaginal pain. They have pain with sex. They have vaginal dysfunction. Real early in my career, I worked as a consultant to the physical therapist at Texas Women's Hospital, and I just had no idea how many women had issues with, muscle spasms that were, closing their vagina up, or painful sex or painful orgasms. And I think it's something that maybe women experience shame about, which of course you know how I feel about this group and not being able to, discuss freely the things that are important to us. So first of all, I want to give reverence to those of you out there who are suffering with pain and challenge as far as this goes. So number one, on that line, what I'd like to say is if you have pelvic floor dysfunction and you don't own my ICE DVDs, just go buy them. They're so worth it. Buy some ghetto DVD player. I know it's ridiculous that we can't download them, but it's all about learning how not just to do Kegels, which is where you squeeze your vaginal wall together, but it's all about teaching the neurological connection for when you do all human movement to fire your deep inner core system, lift your pelvic floor, and then do the movement. So it teaches you that all day, 24/7, except for maybe when you're asleep, that you are working on the strength of your pelvic floor. And it's so huge, not just for sexual health or sexual pain, but it's so huge for, as we get older, not having issues with our bladder, not needing mesh, and particularly if you ladies have had vaginal births, it makes me insane when I think about, if it were a man and we took his shoulder and we ripped it off his body, what the rehabilitation would be. But yet for women, there's just so very few, solutions and really just not a whole ton of talk about it. So first of all, I want to give reverence to those of you who have this issue. And then I also want to talk to you about how you can actually use the FasciaBlaster. So I definitely have seen some really funny videos, but I know you guys are not meaning it to be funny. At the end of the day, let's talk about blood flow and how important that is, because if you've been watching some of the videos, and if you haven't been watching in the last couple of the days, I had my social media team here, so definitely go over to the video section. There's all kinds of, new stuff. So I guess the first thing I'm telling you is please don't post any more, vagina scrubbing videos just because I don't want Facebook coming after us. But I'm not saying not to do it. And in fact, I'm really excited about having the FasciaBlaster come out because it's a little bit smaller and can really work that area. But let's talk about blood flow. Number one, if you've seen any of the pictures lately that I've been putting out, the blood arteries and nerves and veins run like this through the fascia together. So if you think about it just from a real way back, I don't want to get too into the science, but I do want to just talk about how important it is to have blood flow to that area. So let's just say for a second that we're only talking about blood flow and nerve activity to the kind of inner thighs, the vaginal area, what you guys are calling the fupa. If you don't know what it is, I've already told you 3 times. I'm not telling you again. But men and women, it's super important that if we, for whatever reason, lack blood flow and nerve activity to the lower pelvic area, that we get it there. So, I've worked again in the more hospital-oriented way where we had EMG machines which actually help to stimulate muscle contractions, intervaginally. But I really believe that if you'll fascia blast, not just, straight over the vulva, but if you'll go up a whole lot around the inner thighs, also too, I'm just going to show you on myself, we have the femoral artery that runs right through here, so kind of stimulating that. There's also the femoral nerve. We also have the puboral nerve, which a lot of you have inboxed me about, and you're like, oh my gosh, I did my fupa and I had like a lightning strike. That's perfect. We have a pubic nerve and it's fine. So what I would say is go ahead and use the FasciaBlaster, but use it all the way around the area, kind of inner thighs, up through the hip flexors, down to the lower stomach. And this is for male and female, anyone who's experiencing any type of pelvic issues, because sorry, I had an alarm go off to eat again. Getting blood flow to the area will also get nerve activity to the area, which can loosen the area and also allow it to be more productive. So let's just call a spade a spade. It doesn't take too much to think, if you get blood flowing and stronger muscles, we're talking about, harder orgasms, a better sex life, more sensitivity in those areas, which, hey, holla, that's a good thing. So, and then the last thing that I wanted to talk about, I didn't take notes, so give me just a second here. Blood flow, the nerve activity, the strength, flexibility. Oh, and then the fat lysing. So I think a lot of people do experience, no, actually 2 things. And somebody remind me in the comments if I forget. It's 2 things, the fat lysing, and then also I want to talk about the skin tightening. because we all want to be tight down there. So, so fat lysing, I think a lot of people do feel kind of hopeless with the fupa, or like if you have an actual shape, that's more plump than what you like. And what I'll say to you is that fat that is below the surface of the skin and not interstitial or inside like your omentum sac, that is something that the FasciaBlaster can break up. So I see Joanna says fat lysing and skin tightenings. What about evening out from birth damage? Yes, 100%. That's what I'm talking about, is whatever has, damaged your vagina. I hate to say it, but, I've seen rape victims. I've seen people who've had twins. I've seen people who've had huge babies, huge rips. So that's what we're talking about. I mean, at the end of the day, this is scar tissue. It's scar tissue that can trap fat into unsightly and also uncomfortable ways. So you definitely can use the FasciaBlaster to lyse the fat cells, and you don't really have to do much of a contraction, just like a little tiny crunch, because your rectus abdominis, which by the way is the muscle that goes from here down to the pubis, if you just do a little bit of a crunch, you're contracting it, okay? So, so that's that on the fat lysing. So yes, fat lice, go ahead, change the shape of it, make it pretty. I don't care, just don't send me a picture of it. And then last but not least, I just had said it. Y'all are supposed to remind me, fat lice, skin tightening. Okay, so what we know about skin tightening, and it's no different in our, let's just call it lips. I'm gonna break through the barriers of women talking to women tonight. If that skin is loose, it's no different than having loose skin anywhere else on your body. And the key to skin tightening is 100% getting the blood flow from the inside of the body to the skin, because the blood is what carries the elastin and the collagen, and that's what we're seeing across the board with the FasciaBlaster. So why would, let's just call it downstairs, be any different? So what I would say is be super duper careful. Make sure that you're not doing any internal work whatsoever. I would say 100% for sure. This little guy, when he comes out for the face, is going to be super effective. I've already started using it on my C-section scars. Jeanette, when you say mesh, where are you talking about? I hope you're listening. My femoral vein was extremely damaged by mesh. Let me say this, if the mesh is super internal, then I don't have a problem with it, but you never ever want to FasciaBlast at a depth where mesh is, because mesh is almost always stitched just down to the muscle and to the fascia and scars up. And so you can only go above it and around it, because otherwise you could, break that mesh loose. So I am completely anti-blasting mesh where it's attached. But if it's inside, like if you've had a, bladder sling or something like that, so that's fine. But what we're talking about, somebody just mentioned something about the femoral artery. Like, you got to be careful, because that's a little bit closer to the surface. Joanna says, is mesh supposed to be like fake fascia? Yes, it is supposed to be like fake fascia. In fact, that's what it is. It's using a fascia-like shaped substance to hold things together. So what I would say is, if you do have mesh anywhere on your body, like let's just say I'd had a hernia, you could hold your hernia together or still and then blast all around it, but you never want to blast directly on mesh. Lori says, someone asked about blasting helping incontinence. Blasting is not what helps incontinence, but the ICE DVDs do. Because if you missed the beginning of the video, what I was saying is that I teach the contraction of the pelvic floor, which can help lift and hold up the bladder. Not all the time. I mean, if it's a true leaky bladder, you may have to have, medical intervention, but I definitely have helped people with that before. Jeanette, I love you, but you're not helping me. Mesh surgery of what? Let's see. What else do y'all want to talk about? I see a lot of people writing in. I'm answering questions. Let me just go back. Okay, so Actually, there's a good one coming in. Heidi Parker, how can we prevent a hernia surgery? The question, so let me tell you first of all what a hernia is. A hernia is torn fascia. So the way that you prevent having to have a surgery is wherever your hernia is, use your fingers and hold it together and then blast all around it to release the tension so that it's not continually being pulled apart. What about an old hysterectomy scar? Yes, blast that sucker, sister. Karen Slater says, can you blast where you've had liposuction? 100%. The scar tissue created by the cannulas can be broken up with a FasciaBlaster. FasciaBlaster, when is it coming out? Next year. I'm saving for the ICE DVDs. Yes, if you are peeing, anybody out there who's a peer, like when they jump or walk or laugh too hard, ICE DVDs is the way to go. When you have, Shelly, this is a funny question. I have to tell you, I really don't know the answer, but the weird question is, if you blast the private area, does it affect hair growth? You know, we are theorizing about hair growth. You'd have to ask the group, like women are blasting their heads, they're blasting their husbands' heads. You know, we can certainly have a theory that stimulated, you know, blood flow stimulates hair growth, but I can tell you for me, I go and get laser hair removal, so I'm not worried about it. But hopefully not in that area. So anyone blast, Debbie says, has anyone blasted the jawline and had swelling of the lymph nodes? We put out quite a bit of information. It's even in our terms and conditions. When you are blasting, I know I have the little one, but you do not want to get and like grind really deep in the nodes. Remember, fascia blasting is supposed to be between the skin and the muscle, so don't go that hard. I have breast plants. Can I blast the scars on my breast? Yes, you can blast the scars on your breast, but do not try to blast away breast tissue. We have a great video. I bet Sherry Martinez is watching. Sherry, I don't know why I can't get that video link, but we did a whole, at our Crash and Blast in Los Angeles, we did a whole video about how to kind of like reshape the breast and work the breast tissue. We also have tons of cancer patients that, you know, are using the FasciaBlaster as part of their rehabilitation afterward with the breast. Sylvia Sanchez, thank you, girl, for stepping up to the plate and saying that you've been. I 100% believe that, you know, the fat of the fupa is like fat anywhere else, and the skin of the vulva is like the skin of your tricep. So I'm really, really super excited about this, but I'm also, if you missed the beginning of the video, go back, because I was talking more about sexual pain and just getting blood and nerve activity up the inner thighs, across the lower abdominals, into the hip flexors where the femoral artery is, and stimulating that is going to really, really help circulate blood up through the vaginal walls and hopefully, you know, end that kind of pain for you. Let's see, Ella Kim, vaginal mesh broke through, damaging my femoral vein. Oh, Ella, I knew about that. Yeah, I was going to say, if we were talking about mesh, I'm going to give you a huge, huge word of warning. Don't blast the mesh. And I don't think Ella's broke from the FasciaBlaster. But we say across the board, any mesh that you have anywhere on your body, brace it and then loosen all the fascia around it. Kelly Harris says, just to be clear, gentle blasting. Yes. You know, I think we've put out a lot of material just in the last week or two about how I think people are just going too hard. You don't have to. The body will let you in a little bit at a time. So if, again, go back to the video, it's on YouTube, and the name of it is How Hard Do I Fascia Blast? And I'm very specific about where the skin is and where the muscle is and where the fascia blasting should be. So it's something that you would definitely ease yourself in. The last thing you want to do is like go ballistic and bruise up your beaver. Y'all are so funny with the kitty talk. The funny thing is, when I came in the bathroom, I was like, oh, they left, but I was being represented by my kitty cats in here. Please keep the post up for a bit. Miss Cash, we will. By the way, all of the live feeds, if you guys feel like you're missing things, I'm doing tons of live feeds, almost one every single day, minus my, trip where my stepmom had the stroke. But there is a live feed. We save every single one of them, and if you just look at the top of the group page, it has like albums and videos, and it has all of where the live feeds are. So if you miss it or want to share it or want to see it again, it will always be stored there. And then the more people that comment and engage, the higher that it stays towards the top of the group. Michelle Staley, girl, you must be new. C-section scars all day long. We have so many pictures of that. Ziva Pink. Okay, so FUPA, I'm going to, one more time, tell you guys that is the fat upper, I'm going to say pubic area, but you fill in the blank for the bad P word. Debbie Duncan says they are out of stock. If you're talking about the ICE DVDs, we are waiting. We have everything except for the balls, and they are on the boat on the way, so we should have those within a month. Joanna Hunt says it will reduce ingrown hairs. I do believe that to be the case, because I think a lot of why hairs get ingrown is because the lack of blood flow. Kathleen Mackman, yes, we will definitely have cheaper postal options for Australian customers. The challenge is actually having a distribution center in Australia, which Australia, the UK, and Canada, you guys are next. It'll probably be September before we open it, so don't wait to get your blaster until then, but just know that we are coming and we are going global. English speaking first. The FasciaBlaster, I answered that. Next year, we need to get down to Cali and meet up. I'll be, just to give y'all a little secret, I'm home this week because my book is due. So I got to be buried in that, but I will be in New York and Los Angeles next week, so you guys all stay tuned for that. Thanks for the science. You're welcome. I know I'm putting it out there in like a funny way, but I'm being dead serious. Brenda Winfrey says, can I use it on my skin where the cancer chemo treatment is making my skin? Okay, so Brenda, we don't recommend using it while you're actively being treated for cancer. But as soon as you're done, absolutely 100%, you can fix the creep skin and the lumps. Okay, so Linda Colossi, any surgery, I say 12 weeks. It doesn't mean that you can't blast him like in his love handle areas. And I also want you to go onto my YouTube channel and just type in the word diastasis recti, D-I-A-S-T-A-S-I-S, diastasis recti, because there's a whole video that I did about how to blast properly and also do head lifts to repair those. Okay, so Chris Ross says, is some skin so that blasting would actually do more damage to creepy skin? No, the blaster never does damage to creepy skin. Now sometimes if you open up atrophied muscle, temporarily the skin is not as filled up as it used to be, but that's not because there's something wrong with the skin. The skin always tightens with the FasciaBlaster. It's because the muscle that was underneath was kind of fake. So Christine Neidhart, where are all the instructional videos at? So they are all, like all the live feeds are on the actual group page, and then all of the playlists and instructional videos are on, if you just type in Ashley Black Guru YouTube, you can see literally thousands. And don't forget, you guys, that the group has a search bar, and so does the YouTube channel. Now we're getting off topic. Yes, it helps with carpal tunnel. Jerry Turner, you know what? I'm branching off on making too many claims, but I do believe that cysts are made of fascia, yes. It's my opinion. Chemotherapy for breast cancer. If you're finished and you're cleared, just ask your doctor if you can do myofascial release, but most doctors are okay with it. They know that it's good. Thank you, Shanna, for the correct enunciation. Nikki Morosco, please type in mommy tummy into the search bar, because the FasciaBlaster never makes mommy tummy looser, it makes it tighter. If you missed that part of the live feed, it is the lack of blood flow getting to the skin that inhibits the elastin and collagen to retighten it. And when you've had babies, your fascia gets screwed. It gets so stretched out, doesn't bounce out properly. So by restoring your fascia, you're going to restore your blood flow and tighten up your abs. So don't even worry about that for 2 seconds. Angie Brookins says, what is Beaver Blasting? It's exactly what it sounds like, girl. Taking the FasciaBlaster to your vag. And yeah, I see you guys are all answering. Okay, Pamela, it's a can of worms about men's ED, but I am getting inboxes that guys are having more sensation, that guys are having growth, and guys are having a good result by blasting, like I said, all around the pubis and the inner thighs. We are not out of mini twos. We are going down the wait list, 700 people at a time, and they'll be released to the public within 2 to 3 weeks. I don't know, Rochelle, if it can help with ovarian cyst, but all I can tell you is that blood flow is always a good thing. It's always what sends healing materials, nutrients, oxygens to the cells, so it definitely can't hurt. Someone's asking about scars. Jennifer, you must be a little new to the group. This fascia is scar tissue, so 100% yes. The smaller blaster, a couple of times you guys have asked it. This little bitty guy right here is not available until next year, so hang tight, my sisters. Okay, great. I see a lot of like, it's helping with this, it's helping that. Jamie Faircloth, yes, nerve entrapment, 100%. The nerves run right through the fascia, and if it's entrapped, it has to be entrapped by something, and a lot of times that can be the fascia. Spondylolisthesis, that's more, go to Billionaire Healthcare on my YouTube channel. I have a whole radio show about back pain. People are asking, what is mesh? Mesh is a surgical procedure, which, like Joanna said, is kind of like fake fascia put in to hold stuff together. Stephanie Walsh, if you'll just go back to the beginning, I talk about the whole the whole sexual drive. Leanne Klein, thank you. Just to give you an update, my stepmother actually landed back in Alabama today. So she's doing really well. It's going to be a long recovery from her stroke, but thank you for the prayers. All right, it sounds like you guys are pretty up to date. I'm seeing things like, you know, people asking me about migraines, gallstones, all of that. Listen, the best thing for you guys to do, like I don't have any trouble doing live Q&As, but I've done so much of this. So if you will start with the search bar on the FasciaBlasters group, and then also go to the search bar on Ashley Black Guru YouTube, I think you're gonna find probably more information that you want. But if you'll do a little bit of the legwork on your own, it really makes it easier on us because we get so many, like 10,000 inquiries per day, and we've got our team, you know, full on, you know, working on it. But the more research you just dive down the rabbit hole, you're going to find, you know, whole radio shows, you know, 15-minute videos about exactly what you want. So, and then I see people talking about, okay, so Nicole, Nikki, this is an important question about, can we blast people without a license? It's a real gray area. I would say that it is a state by state thing, and you should check with all of your state licensing boards. Yes, Diva, we talked about that earlier. You should not rake hard over lymph nodes because they will swell. It's not good. Yeah, all the rest of them, you guys, I just want you to use the search bar. Stretch marks, yes. Elizabeth Reyes, go on that path because it completely got rid of mine. And unless I'm in some weird shadows, you can't see them at all. All right, guys, you guys are asking me tons of questions. I'm going to end the live feed, and over the next day or two, motivators, moderators, seasoned OG blasters, any, people who have been around for a while who can help me ask questions, I'd really appreciate it. I mean, not ask them, answer them, help answer questions. But I hope that clears up a little bit about, Beaver blasting. And my last request before I wrap it up is don't send the videos, because what happens is that Facebook calls us and they're like, basically, what the hell is going on in your group? Well, you're all naked, and now we got this soft porn going on. So anyway, inbox me the videos, inbox me your questions. I'm happy to be your late night girlfriend. And we could talk all you want about female issues, but let's keep it off the front of the page. All right, listen, you guys have a great Sunday night. And hopefully I'll talk and see all of you at mañana night.